Hello, I'm Rob Westervelt, Editor-in-Chief of IHS Chemical Week, and welcome to the 2014 IHS World Petrochemical Conference. I'm delighted to have Danielle Ferrari, CEO of Versalis, with me. Thank you for joining us again, Danielle.
Thanks to you.
Great. And in your presentation at WPC, you really focus on the need for European petrochemical producers to adapt in responses to the competitive challenges they faced. What is Versalis doing to change and transform its organization in response to the very competitive situation that remains in Europe?
The European competitiveness is an issue that has been around for some time now, particularly Europe being squeezed between low-cost feedstock companies growing from the Middle East and recently from the US, capacity coming forward, structural deficit in terms of energy. And companies like Versalis, which has been over the last 10 or 15 years subject of all these difficulties, are now acting differently. Alongside the rest of the industry, we are really taking very sharp movements. We have addressed the three main integrated cracker sites that we have, and one by one we have solved the issues. For instance, the Porto Torres facilities in Sardinia, we have shut down the aromatic plant, the cracker, the polyethylene, and we are replacing it with a completely new investment on a biorefinery integrated with the agro chain in the territory. We are addressing the Sicilian cracker capacity by extracting more heavier feedstock on C5, C9, and derivatizing in joint venture with GTC Neville, an American company, Houston-based. So we just continue to act in order to restructure either right size or close capacity or transform that in order to be aligned with what will be the demand and what the mega trends in Europe will tell us to be.
Okay. And more broadly, what do you think Europe needs to do to improve its competitive position?
Oh, there is a lot on energy that is becoming a reality now in Europe to be addressed. If you look at there is a structural deficit, and I think two things that the European industry is acting is right-sizing their plant and increasing flexibility to be able to process lighter feed, like ethane, for instance, or LPG. In the more strategic point of view, it will be addressing portfolio, it will be addressing and continuing to foster innovation, which is the traditional way that Europe has been building or helping to build the chemical industry around the world. So remaining on the forefront of this innovation will always help Europe to remain competitive.
Okay. And what role will renewables and alternatives play in Europe?
Renewables is one of the areas where Europe has an excellence because of historical situation, and I would say that they play a major role when you address them correctly. I mean, you are not talking about renewables to address large feedstock, large volume feedstock. You're talking about renewables in a couple of cases when always market-driven, first of all. Secondly, when there is a specific structural need like butadiene or butanediol, for instance, or when there are very special grades of product that needs to be made. The butadiene is a classic structural issue that comes from the ethane utilization, and is part of the initiative that we are doing both with data generation technologies and with Genomatica in terms of renewables. This is an example.
And you mentioned some of the inherent technological and R&D strengths that Europe has.
Yeah.
Are they moving fast enough to capitalize on those and establish those as an area for growth and also as a defensive?
I think yes. I think they are moving fast enough. We see a lot of the capacity that is coming up in Middle East has been proprietary technology for Europe. We've seen a lot of partnership in the Asian front that has been a classic model by which European company can capture up to 80% of their growth in the next 4 years plan. I mean, I think this is the largely consensus that European companies will do that. And if they are able to do that, they do it because of the continuous study on technology. I'm going to talk about the collaborative licensing because we pursue a lot of that. We try to be able to continue to improve our technology by licensing it, by getting the feedback, by improving our product range and technologies, and by acting together with a local partner to build aggressively on the market we want to achieve.
And finally, give us your assessment of the current economic situations in Europe. What are you looking at in 2014?
I think the European economy reached the bottom around the middle of 2013. This is what we have noticed. We are seeing some sign of recovery in some of the industry sectors. I would be very cautious for the first half of 2014. Yep. I would be more optimistic for the second half.
Thank you very much, Danielle.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.